My name is Harry Cuero. I come from the Campo Band of Kumeyaay Indians. Cuero is my last name. It comes from the Quash clan, which meant skin. Everybody wants to know today where they come from. You see like that 23andMe lady creates that. She's a billionaire because everybody wants to know, where do I come from? Where's my ancestors? We come from right here. To be able to fight for who we are and stand up to who we are, we have to know who we are. You know, a lot of people talk about culture, what culture is. Culture is always an evolving thing. It's always changing. But when I talk about the way of thinking, the philosophy, that means that you're thinking a way of your people. But we can't thrive as individuals. We have to thrive as a people. That's how we were always, that's our philosophy. Us, we. That's what's carrying it on, not me. But lately it's been a lot of just me. And that's dangerous to our people. Because then we're not a people no more. We're not a race. We're not a people. When it just becomes me or I, it's we and us. You know, like I always tell people, if you know your culture, you know your ways, you know who you are, you could fit anywhere. You can have conversation with anybody. Because the reality is, we're all human. It's when you don't know yourself, it's when it's hard to fit in. That's when it becomes hard to fit in, because you don't know yourself. You don't know your background, your history. That's when it becomes hard. I never lived alone, because it took everybody to live. And it's still that way today. But people don't think so. They think as long as whatever I got, I'm okay. But you know what? You can have all the money in the world. And if everything goes wrong, what is that money going to buy you? If you don't know what plant to eat, you don't know what to get for medicine, you don't know, and it's all right here. It's right here. So all that thing that you think you have is going to help you. When it comes to it and you don't know, doesn't really matter. You're alone. And being alone is not happiness. It's not happiness. Today's culture and today's world is me. I. Ours was never like that. It's always we and us. And when we lose that, then we become individuals. And when you become an individual, everything becomes harder. Becomes harder. When it's a group, it makes it easier. That's what you don't want to lose. Because like I said, that affects everything. That affects your psyche, your way of thinking. Like I said, and then when you cannot do something because it's hard, you just want to give up. And then you want to resort to something that's going to take that whole way of thinking away. When it comes back that, no, if you had love and compassion for each other, some of this stuff wouldn't penetrate. You don't need to go to something else for, like an addiction or anything like that, because you know how to work those things out. Today, my dad would have been like 80 something, my mom late 70s. They would be the elders today. They would be the elders. My parents, they used to like to drink, and and a lot of that came from because the way that they were treated. My parents were taken away as young kids, and they were literally beat their language out of them. That my mother didn't know how to speak our language no more. My father didn't know how to speak the language no more. All that trauma that they experienced from that happening, they drank, and they drank a lot, when they got a chance. And that was, I think, a lot of times it was to try to numb the things that they went through. So when it came to us, they didn't want to teach us. They were afraid that we would be the same thing, that we would be, our language would be we'd be beat out of it if we got taken away. And so so even my parents, like I said, all that trauma they went through. When I was about 15 years old, my mother was here, handed me a beer. Here, drink with us. And I'm like, no. And she said, well, look at your cousin over here. He said the same thing. Now look at him. He's drinking. I said, I told my mother, I said, you know what? You'll never see me do this stuff. Never. And I kept that promise because my mother never, because I don't drink. I didn't fall into that same trap. I didn't fall into that, I'm going to drink my problems away, or I'm going to take drugs to take my problems away. No. You take those problems away by thinking and solving. When I try to learn as much as who I was, then I started to learn the singing, how to sing songs, because it was, for me, it was just so beautiful. And the only place you would hear it was at the funerals. And so I would go, and my parents, they wouldn't stay. And when I was 8 years old, I wanted to stay, and my parents like, no, you're going to come home. And my great-grandmother said, no, he could stay with me. And so I'd stay there, and I'd listen. And, I'd be watching, and towards the morning, I'd get kind of sleepy, kind of nod. Old people come, they'd hit you with a cane. Wake up. You didn't come here to sleep. You're going to miss it. Again, talking these kind of words too, like I said, you're going to miss it. I'm thinking, what am I going to miss? And, you're going to miss how it goes, what we're doing here. That's what they're talking about. And like I said, so every funeral there, I was always there because I wanted to hear the songs. And at home, I'd mimic it. Every day I come home from school, I would sit there and sing like what I thought I heard every day. And one day I got a can, one of my mom's beer cans, father's beer cans, put a stick in it, put some rocks in it, and I would sit there and just play, trying to play. One day my grandson, he's 5 years old, he comes to me and he says, Bubba's, do you know how to meditate? And I told him, no. And he gets down and he shows me, he crosses his hands and he's doing that. And and I said, well, yeah, I've seen that, but I don't know, I don't know what that means. And at our education center, there was a lady there that was going to teach yoga. And within yoga, there's meditation. And so I asked her, I said, can you tell me what meditation is? Because I don't know what it is. And she said, okay, let me ask you a question, she tells me. When you're singing, what are you thinking about? I go, I'm concentrating on the song. I tune everything out, and I'm just thinking about that and how I'm going to sing it and project it. And she said, that's meditation. And I was like, oh my God, that's what that is. And she goes, yes, you do it. You just didn't know it. I remember as a teenager singing, And one day I came to my teacher and I told him, I said, hey, I hear this woman singing with us, but there's no women singing. It's just all men. But I hear a woman's voice. And he looked at me and he said, you're getting there. And what he was saying, what he was explaining was that because now you're really into it, you're going to start hearing things and seeing things because you're coming to that understanding that what those songs could give you. He had never said nothing about it. And he was waiting for me to say it because it was something that was passed on to him. He was waiting for me to say that, but didn't want to tell me about it because I had to get that on my own. And when I was teaching boys, I told them, about that. And of course, right away, a lot of them, oh yeah, I heard it. And I'm thinking, I didn't hear it until years and years of singing. That it didn't come to me real quick. It was years. And so, I made the mistake of saying something that I probably shouldn't have said. I should have waited for them to come to tell me. But in these times, when there's nobody else to pass that on, you get afraid that if you don't say these things, it might be lost too. These things will get lost and they won't know. So there's always that balance. When you sit here to tell things, do you tell too much? Do you not tell enough? I used to see sometimes people come and ask my uncle, do you know this? Can you tell me about this? No, I don't know. And if they came back, are you sure? No, I told you I don't know. The third time, why do you want to know? What do you want to know this for? Is it so that you can go around telling people, oh, I know this? Or are you going to use it? Do what it was meant for? And so a lot of our old people sometimes wouldn't tell things because they want to make sure that you didn't bluster like, I know all this stuff. Like I'm the one you got to come to. No. Are you the type that's going to share it and pass it on? That's how the old people thought, I'm not just going to give you all this so you could go around and act like you know it all. It's not about that. These are teachings. I hate when people would say, will you come and sing your songs? They're not my songs. They're the people's songs. It belongs to all of you. Take ownership of it. It's yours as well as mine. I don't own it. It's not mine. It's ours. At one time, this was common knowledge. Everybody knew this. When I look at some of our people, it's an easy thing to sit there and say, I'm proud to be Indian. I'm proud. I'm Indian. Okay. What are you doing to push us along in this days and times? What are you putting forward for the people? What are you doing? What contributions are you making to our Indian world? Because if you're not doing none of that, what are you proud of? That nothing. Because you're not pushing us along as a people. You're not creating. Again, that's why I look at people. Sometimes they sit there and I'm proud I'm Indian. You'll even hear I'm full-blooded. I'm 7/8. I'm half. What does that mean? It mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. If you're not carrying along our philosophy, our way of thinking, our way of solving problems, if you don't know that, I don't care how much Indian you think you are, you're not. You're not. But the elders are not stepping up and being elders. They're not stepping up and being the elders. And part of it because we push them down and we hold them down. We don't allow them to be that elder. You know, when I was young, you did something wrong, the elder corrects you right away. Hey, you don't do that. Today somebody does that. You don't talk to my kids like that. Man, what do you mean? They're doing something wrong. Acknowledge that. If anything, acknowledge what they're doing is wrong. Because when you go over there and say, what are you doing talking to my kids like that? You're only making it saying it's okay for what they're doing. And what they're most of the time they're doing is not right. These are the things that we need back in our communities and we'll be strong again. So when we look at Christianity, there's two big differences between our belief and their belief. Our belief, we don't have a hell. That's number one. Number two, we're not over anything. We're equal. We're equal to everything. That means that we don't have the right to take from them. We don't have the right to destroy them. We don't have that right because they're exactly the same as us. But even our word hello, you know, they say halka, which means the flame within you, may it burn bright. You know, so it's not just saying hello. They're saying, I'm wishing that you're good. All within that one word. I'm wishing that everything's good for you. Today, we're not doing that so much because we're losing that part of our way of thinking, our philosophy, because another one's coming in and it's very powerful. Be careful of bad things, bad spirits, bad medicine. Because there's nobody here could fix you anymore. My grandfather told him one time, different medicine man, he said. So there was medicine men that use herbs. Another one would use his hands. Another one would use smoke. Another one would use song. Another one would lay you down and pray over you. He said, we had different medicine men. They did different things. But those medicine men were people of nature. They had that, where they were in tune with the earth. They knew how to battle things. We can have it again because the teachers are still here, the animals. We've learned a lot from them. They're still here. They still have that power. You know, like I tell the young people, you know, when that tsunami hit, I think it was 2004, so the elephants were heading to high ground before the tsunami even came. They knew it. They could sense it. And they were taking people to the high grounds. They were heading there. A lot of the animals were heading that way because they knew it was coming. They could sense it. They felt it. That's how we used to be at one time. We could sense things and we could feel it. Our young people around us today that have that power, but they don't know how to harness it, how to use it. You know, a lot of people don't understand that when those anthropologists came in the 20s, 1920s, and they came in 1800s, our people were telling them things. I had a grandfather that once said that We're going to lose all this, he said. He said, but there's going to be a time when the people are going to want it again, and they're going to come looking for it. This is why we're leaving it with these people. We're leaving it with you. Make sure our people get it. Because there's going to be a time they're going to come back and they're going to start looking for this. They're going to want to know who they are, where they come from, what their thinking is. And that's how a lot of the old people felt. That's why they told these things to the anthropologists. Because they knew that we were losing it, but one day we'd come back and looking for it. We were always people of design. We didn't just do things by chance. When you do things by chance, you can have chaos. When you sit there and you design it out, means that you thought it through. Our dances, our songs, they're all were designed. You know, when we dance, we're all swaying together. You're creating these vibes. And when you connect to those vibes, it just really gives your clarity, makes your mind open up, your eyes. We're not taught to think anymore. We're taught to, hey, you go to your phone, you can get any answer. You know, and so we're not thinking these things through. So we go, in human nature, I guess they kind of say you always go for the easiest thing. But the truth of the matter is that you always have to think things through. And when you think things through, you'll come up with those answers, but you have to think. You have to put that time into it. There's the 3 stars of the Orion's belt. For our people, we call that a moo. Now, a moo is a bighorn sheep. And their terrain, their way they walk, I mean, you know, it's like this, or it's like that. I mean, it's just, but they're able to maneuver it. They're able to get through it. Sometimes they fall. Very rarely, but they do. They fall. They look down on us. They're watching us. You see, look, we walk on good ground. We should walk in a good way. Throughout life, we're going to make mistakes. But when we, you know, some are going to be worse than others, right? Of course, you know. And once you start to understand it, that your mistake, and then you forgive yourself, is when you can move forward. You can move on. That's the biggest thing, is people don't know how to forgive themselves. And they hold on to it. And that's what sometimes to do something else to get away from that thinking, but it's always there. Until you forgive yourself, you let it go and you release it. It's when you can start moving forward. The Creator gave us a lot of emotions. We're going to use them. It's going to happen. So things that happen to you in your life, you're not the first to go through that. You're not the last. But you're not alone. Just remember that you're not alone. You'll get through it. We'll help you. You know, but you got to tell. You got to speak of it. Don't hold it in. You'll get sick. And now today's sickness is that I'm going to go drink, take drugs. I'm going to take it away like that. But that's only temporarily. You're not going to fix it that way. That might even end up taking your life. So, you know, there's, like I said, there's a lot of things within our ways of dealing with trauma and dealing with despair. But you gotta have to know it. And you have to seek it. You have to seek it. You have to put the time to do it. That's the way you're going to learn it and have understanding of it. Since the day of our creation, since the day we were here, we always worked. Meaning, you know, I'm cold. Better go get wood then. Start a fire. Because it's not just going to happen like that. That means I got to go get it. If I'm cold, I got to go do it. We've always been working people. And when you do that, it makes you feel good. You accomplished something. You did something. You don't need that drugs. You don't need that alcohol to feel good. The things around you, the things that you do, that feels good. That makes you feel good. When the Spanish first got here, they didn't even understand their own religion. Because if they did, they wouldn't have done what they did. Because their book talks about love, peace, happiness, not war, not to wipe people out. All the religions around the world is mostly about peace and love, not about taking and destroying. It's having mutual respect for one another. We all have these stories. Indian, white people, black people, Chinese people. We all have that way of healing. But we're getting away from it. You know, we're no different than anybody. They knew how to heal. They knew how to talk with nature. They knew all that too. But, you know, we're not the only ones. They had it too. You know, I was told that that around the world, the bow came into happen, and it happened around the world. And the thought is that because the thought was in the sky and it went around the world, everybody knew it, used it. And we could get there again. We just have to have the confidence in ourselves. The confidence that who we are and what we were, and we can become again. But in today's world, we're taught that that's witchcraft, that's bad thinking, that's the devil's work. You're crazy. But that's not true. You know, like I'm married to a Navajo woman, and they believe that words have power. You put it out there with your words, it'll happen. You talk bad and you think bad and talk that bad, it's gonna be bad. Again, it's that mindset. You know, that's why she always says, "Be careful what you say." You know, she always telling her granddaughter that, "Careful what you're saying. You're gonna put it out there. You're gonna make it happen. Put bad things out there. Think good things. Put the good things out there." We should have discussions, groups, think tanks, and think about these kind of things and start changing our whole mindset and start looking in the good of who we are and quit letting people tell us that we're bad and we're nothing. We're listening to them. We need to tell ourselves, no, it's not true. It's not true. And start putting that vibe out there. The real being proud of who we are. The real pride of Indian. comes from a thought. That's what it is. It's a thought. When you think it, it will happen. If you think, oh, it's impossible, it's not going to, yeah, then it becomes impossible. If you think that, oh, no, people will not do it, okay, then yeah, people won't do it. It's what you think. If you think good and you think that we could do it, it will happen. And we can end with that.